10 random magic cards rated. Day number 207.
I realize that I have arthritis. Arthritis? I have laryngitis. I do have arthritis though. I have laryngitis, so I can talk like this for the entirety of the video if you'd like me to. But I don't think you'd like me to. So we'll just look at our first card. It's Crown Ceratok. This is from Gatecrash originally. It costs 4 mana for a 4/3 Rhino. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has trample. That's not the worst line of text ever, but I think there are other things that just give your creatures trample. You know what I'm saying? I'll say 4 mana for a 4-power trample too. It's drafty. Let's give this a 3.4. Sure. I'll bump it up a little bit. Let's give it a 3.4. Let's invert its power toughness. Deadbridge Goliath, rather. It's kind of neat. I remember losing to this card a couple times. Like pre-release, I want to say. I know almost sure I lost to it at this pre-release. Originally from Return to Ravnica. 4 mana, 2 and 2 green for a 5/5 insect with scavenge 6 mana. What does that mean? It means you pay 4 and 2 green and exile this from your yard to put a number of +1/+1 counters on a equal to this card's power on target creature. You can only scavenge as a sorcery. So pay 6, remove it from your yard, and you'll put 5 +1/+1 counters on a creature. That's sorcery speed. That's not bad. That just ain't terrible. So a 4 mana 5/5 is always going to be a kind of a benchmark. It's a benchmark we hit way more often nowadays. There was a point where 4 mana 5/5 was like the 4-minute mile. You know what I mean? It's, Jazam Djinn and like one other creature. That's about it. You know what I mean? But now I feel like there's 2 creatures in every set, 4 mana 5/5s. But still, the ability to play, a 4 mana 5/5 with literally 0 downside, and then later on in the game, get all that power toughness back, put it on something else. It's not bad. So I'm going to go 4.2 for Deadbridge Goliath. I always want to say Deadbridge, but it's also very scary. Like if you encountered this, just giant beetle or whatever, I'd get the hell out of there. Next is Sanguine Evangelist. I literally mentioned this card yesterday. So that's kind of neat. Sanguine Evangelist is 3 mana, 2 and a white for a 2/1 Vampire Cleric with Battle Cry. That means whenever it attacks, all your other attacking guys get +1/+0 till end of turn. When it enters the battlefield or dies, you get a 1/1 black bat creature token with it flying. So pretty neat. Pretty good card. It's only 50 cents right now from Lost Caverns. I actually think that's kind of a bit of a heck of a deal, man. This could go in like white commander decks if they're doing a lot of attacking or something, or token-based decks. This does some work. Either way, man, maybe even aristocrats piles could use something like this. But one way or the other, neat little card, man. Does a lot of work in standard as kind of a role player when you don't get your Immodane's Recruiter, stuff like that. Just altogether a solid magic card. I'm going to give this a 5.7. I've always liked Evangelist, and I probably always will. It's 3 creatures for 3 mana and an Anthem effect. Like, come on, it's really good. 2 of the creatures fly. Wall of Granite's a pretty bad magic card. This is from Portal over here. 3 mana, 2 and a red for a 0/7. That's what it does. That's what the card does. 1.3. It'll block. That is a rock that can block right there, baby. Armor of Faith is up next from Ice Age. I always wanted this card to be good, but I'm pretty sure it's really, really bad. A single white mana for an aura that enchants a creature. And creature gets +1/+1. You can also reverse Fire Breathe. Okay, so yeah, you pay a white, and the creature that Armor of Faith enchants gets +0/+1 until end of turn. So protect your dudes from lightning bolts. And just lets them block or like swing into anything so long as you have mana. Altogether neat, but almost never worth, putting this card in your deck. I know it only costs 1 mana to get on the table in the first place, but boy, you're looking for 1 mana auras, you can do a lot. But Ethereal Armor is 1 mana, you know what I mean? So you probably do better than this. Even back then, you could do better than this. So I'm gonna go 1.2 on this. Let's go 1.3. Same as we gave Wall of Granite, somewhere around there. Ooh, Nantuko Husk. That's a good card. Originally from what? Yeah, Onslaught makes sense. 3 mana, 2 and a black for a 2/2 zombie insect. Sacrifice a creature. Husk gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Now, I believe Phyrexian Ghoul was the first creature that was basically this guy, printed in like Urza's Saga. But Husk is arguably the more iconic, of like all of these creatures, because there's been a few of these that have been printed just like this. I feel like this saw like the most standard play in its day. So It's a really kind of iconic card for that. And for Aristocrat stacks, people are always going to love Nantuko Husk. Ridiculous threat of activation. Similar to like an Arc Brown Ravager. Like if it gets through in combat, you just sacrifice everything and deal 10 damage to your opponent. And that's disgusting. And you can still do that. Lives on in Commander, although I haven't really seen many people play Husk. If you're going to play these 3 mana sacrifice outlets, which is what it's really good for. You play like Woe Strider. I've seen a lot of Woe Strider get kind of subbed nowadays for Husk, but Husk is still a strong card. It really is. I'm going to give this I'm going to give it the honorary 5. I didn't give one yesterday, and I haven't given one today. I think Husk deserves the honorary 5. If it was Ghoul, I probably would give it the honorary 5 too. But again, I've won a bunch of games with Husk in my life. I've seen a bunch of games won with Husk, both in Standard and in Limited, depending on what time period. So I love this card. I'll always love this card. And I literally, I've had the same LSO Core Aristocrats Commander deck for a year now, a year and a half. And I've never introduced this card to it. Now, I feel like I need more sack outlets. I do. So maybe I should try Husk. Husk is good, man. Next is Savage Lands. We've done these 3-color tri-lands at ETB Tap before. They're good. Barter and Blood, okay, from Mirrodin originally. 4 mana, 2 and 2 black for a sorcery. Each player sacks 2 creatures. But what if? Just bear with me here. You don't have 2 creatures. Then this just becomes card advantage, right? This becomes a 2-for-1, and that's pretty good. If your opponent has a bunch of creatures, or if you have a couple of guys or whatever, it becomes worse. But maybe you want to sacrifice your guys. Like maybe you want to do that. You know what I mean? But again, this mostly gets cast in situations where you don't have any creatures. And in Commander, that means it becomes a 6-for-1, like pretty easily. I still think Barter and Blood is a good card. I'm going to give this a 5.1. Good removal spell. It really is. Still is, I would argue. Giada, Fonts of Hope, one of the top 20, I think, commanders of the last couple of months over on EDA track right now. Originally from Streets of New Capenna. This is 2 mana, 1 and a white for a 2/2 legendary angel with flying and vigilance. You can also tap it to add a white mana, but you can only spend that to cast angel spells. All the other angels you control enter the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on them for each angel you already control, and that will get out of hand fairly quickly, even in Standard. It gets out of hand. In the original Standard that this was in, right when it came out, I feel like we were playing it because we still had Kaldheim. There was a lot of angel synergy there. This card was really, really fun. Black White Angels was never amazing in Standard, but it was always kind of fun to play. It was a solid deck. And I think you could say the same thing now, where Black White Angels or White Red Angels, that's another one, right? Red Angels is a real deck you can try to play. And it's not a bad mid-range deck. It's really not, but it's never going to be top tables or anything. That said, this is a pretty popular commander, as I've already pointed out. And if you're going to play Angels, I would say it's one of your very, very few options for a commander, and it's probably the best possible option for a commander. You never have a 2-drop in Angels decks, aside from like a couple of different choices. But if you play Angels in Commander, now you always have a 2-drop. It seems pretty good. And apart from that, it's exactly what you want to get on the board with on turn 2 to start making your Angels crazy. So just a really cool card all around in a bunch of different constructed environments. And I'm going to give you a 5.3. Yeah, you're good. You're a good card. Next is Crashing Drawbridge, our final card of the day from Throne of Eldraine here. 2 mana for a 0/4 wall with Defender. You can tap it and have creatures you control gain haste until end of turn. I have always thought this was an underrated card. Apparently it's $2 from Commander Masters. What's that about? But still 50 cents from Throne of Eldraine because it's not that bad. It's just not that bad. You know what I mean? Basically a 2 mana thing that says creatures you control have haste. Okay, right? I mean, that's definitely better than it looks. So it can't be go for the throat. It can't be bolted or any effect like that. That's pretty good. I'm actually going to give Drawbridge 5. I'm actually going to do it. I tend to like, creatures you control have haste. I tend to like that on cards. Difference is usually cards like that cost like 3 mana. Unless you're going to play like, what is it, Mass Hysteria, costs like 1 mana and everything has haste. But I don't know, man. Usually, you play like Rhythm of the Wild or something. And that effectively gives all you guys haste, costs 3 mana, and like everyone plays it in Commander. Like every Gruul deck plays Rhythm. Meanwhile, this card can go in any deck. And it's basically Rhythm of the Wild, you know what I'm saying? It's not bad. So I think it's okay. I think it's worth at least a 5. But that is all I honestly want to give it more than that. Let's be fair here. But that is everything for today. I feel like that was a quick one. We did have a couple of good ones. But I feel like we haven't really picked up, this week, like since we got back to it, I feel like we haven't had like a true banger. So here's hoping it's Wednesdays. Wednesday's going to bring us some real sick stuff. But anyway, guys, I'm donezo for this onezo. I will see you all bright and early tomorrow. Love you. Bye.